So welcome to this second session on ICT for health, well-being and aging. Today, in this session that is meant to bring together stakeholders who perhaps would like to submit a proposal in the next call, we will focus on these three topics on it's actually a PPI, a procurement of innovative solutions, public procurement of innovative solutions. The first one, DDH05, large-scale implementation of digital information for health and care in an aging society. It's a bit specific, this topic, so we still know that not so many stakeholders are aware of this type of instrument and what they and how they can really use it. Therefore, we want to promote this type of instrument. The other two types here are innovation actions, a bit more known. Those are scaling up the univocal identification of medicinal products and the large-scale pilots of personalized outcome-based integrated care. So just let me go very quickly through these topics. I want to spend only 2 minutes or so per topic because we will have about 8 presentations and I want to leave the time to the presenters. In the PPI that I mentioned, it's clearly addressing the need for a large-scale uptake of digital solutions in an aging society. So it's not necessarily about patients. It might be about old people who have special needs, just want to stay independent in their own home. So it should also help to make the health system more sustainable. That means the cost factor is also important there. Now we see this increasing demand factor and pressure on the public system, and we want to bring together demand and supply side and scale up the way how those solutions are supplied in Europe. The scope, well, I already mentioned, specify, purchase, and deploy ICT solutions. It's not about developing ICT solutions. It's very closely linked to the activities of the European Innovation Partnership of Active and Healthy Aging and the reference sites which they have. So it should not start from scratch, but really to link to these ongoing activities. There is a need to have public or private procurers in the consortium. That is typically hospitals or care centers or other providers of such services. Just one very short slide about what is a PPI and how to distinguish it from a PCP. So we have this basically 5 phases, where we start with a phase 0, which even comes before the actual research. And the PPI is in the last phase, in the phase 4, where the solution already exists, a proof of concept has already worked, and it's already available. So procurers would know that in principle a solution exists for them, but they need to scale it up. They might need to adapt it to certain national contexts in order to make it deployable also there. So it's important not to confuse it with a PCP. The expected impacts are very much in line with what I already said on the cost factors, on sustainability for the health system, bringing together demand and supply side, and of course helping the older people for better quality of life and to stay independent in their own homes. I don't want to go into detail, just a reminder, please really read the work program. This type of presentations cannot replace any careful reading of the work program. The funding there is 2 to 5 million normally, and this is a co-fund instrument. That means the consortium has to come in with 65% normally of their own funding. That's typically the procurers who buy the solutions. They also need to commit money for that. The thresholds are 10, 3, 3, 3 as normal for this type of instrument, and you can find more information on the website. Now let me quickly go to the other two. For the for the issue with the medicines and how they are identified in Europe, we still see that there are differences in names and in variations of the content of these medicines and also strengths. So it's on the one hand a safety question, because it could easily happen that, especially in a cross-border context, you have a certain prescription from a doctor, but the specific medication is not available in this member state because it might not be on the market or it might have a different name. Then it's necessary to find a substitution, and that needs to be done very, very quickly. So usually somebody comes during the nighttime, has an issue, and then immediately the doctor needs to decide, or even a pharmacist, what type of medicament is appropriate there. So now we look here in the call on the technical issues, on the standardization issues, and it's not, again, not about inventing something from scratch, but being in line with the so-called IDMP, which is the identification of medicinal products, to help also the implementation and to potentially link to the EU SPOR database, which stands for Substance Product Organization Reference Master Database. So it's very much about interoperability, how to develop APIs and make this type of information available. I mentioned already the APIs. Important is, of course, also to explain this and to disseminate it to prescribers, to doctors, to nurses, to people in the health sector, and also to patients, finally, so that this type of information is known. As it's an innovation action, well, let me first just remind about some of the expected impact. So patient safety is important there, of course. It should avoid any unforeseen impact of a medicament that was not appropriate. And also, especially in the cross-border context, we want to address that. As it's an innovation action, we only have 70% funding normally, with the exception if it's a non-profit organization, they can still get 100% even in this type of activity. The last one is the large-scale deployment of solutions for integrated care. There, it's important to look at the projects that we had already funded, because there were several proposals several projects already funded in the past. Even pilot sites were done. So it should not repeat what was already done, but build on what was done. I would say the main differences between what we had in the past and what we have now is that it's outcome-based. So it should really look at what is the benefit for the patient, and not only measure certain efforts that are done, but really the outcome. It should be personalized to really offer individual solutions. At the same time, and this is of course a challenge, it should be also deployable in any other member state. And we know that this is the real challenge in this topic, to take solutions from one country to the other and deploy them there as well. So to have replicable solutions is really important. Just a few words on the scope. It should, in principle, prevent hospitalization. So people who have a need could be older people who are really sick or have a long-term need or a short-term need, which might end after some while. And telecare solutions, integrated care, are offered to them in order to help them to stay at home. It should also include the carers. So it's very important not to think that the carers would be replaced by machines. These machines or these technologies are meant to help, to assist. So the working conditions of the carers are also to be addressed here, and the situation of the family. So we shouldn't see the patient or the older person isolated, but in the context, in the social context where the care is given. The expected impact, on the one hand, it should be a common vision of what type of requirements are necessary to be defined in order to have such personalized outcome-based solutions which can be deployed in other member states. And they should be considering a multidisciplinary environment. They should be robust, they should be reliable, they should be replicable. And in terms of the pathways, it should support a number of different pathways. So not only specify one type of disease and then this is the pathway and that's it, but it should be broader than that. And it should include clerical and clinical information. Here again, the innovation action has a threshold of 10,333. And the funding rate again is 70%, where we think that 5 to 8 million per project would be able to address this challenge. Now, I quickly went through the slides. If you have important questions, urgent questions, I would like to take them now. But of course, you can send us questions also by email afterwards. And as the submission deadline is still far away, it's the 24th of April, there's plenty of time to think in detail about the specific questions you might have. So with this, I thank you very much for the attention and would like to ask if there are questions. Yes, please, there is one and there is a second one. I think we do have a microphone somewhere.
My question is regarding the DTH09 for identification in medicine. I know we are working on a project in Italy for this, and we've been trying to get in touch with the European Medicine Agency to see what the status is of an existing database for Europe for standardization of active ingredients across the borders. The only answer we've been able to get, which was very, very hard to even arrive at that, was that it's something that they're working on with the SPOR project, and maybe in 2 years they will have some open data available. So my question is, if we would like to achieve that before 2 years, and is it something that we could use the EMA as a partner or collaborate in some way with their efforts as an entity in Europe and in other countries? Is that a possibility, and how could we explore that?
Okay, so content-wise, it's very important that you are in touch with EMA because, well, they are also referenced at some points in the topic text. I cannot directly say if they are allowed to be a partner in the project. I don't think so. But content-wise, it's very good if you establish collaborations with them. Of course, the timing that you mentioned is important, and it could be that certain steps are delayed. So you even if it might happen that the SPOR database is delayed, for example, you would just consider what is available. So the point is not that you develop the SPOR, that you would do the work of the EMA, so that's their job. But that you use what's available and that you do not ignore what's there already, because there is the danger that we create silos, basically, and then again, we have not solved anything.
Okay, and so I know that also EMA is in process of moving locations, and so for the next 6 months, they're very limited capacity, and so we've had a difficult time with getting information. For example, if we were to propose a system for the international identification code for medicines, we would want to work in collaboration with what they're using. So in the coming months, I don't know if you have some advice for how to try to communicate with them.
Okay, so what we can do is we will, of course, observe this in the coming months, and then when it's more towards, let's say, January or so, we might publish something in the frequently asked questions on how to collaborate with them. So it's also about, of course, managing expectations. We are not saying that you should basically close a gap that in the responsibility of the EMA. So that's, but to make the use to the extent it's possible.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So there was one question there, then there is one here and one here. So.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. My questions, I have two short questions on DTH11. The first one is, how do you quantify large-scale pilots in terms of number of patients or involved carers? Is that?
Okay, so this is a question that we get every year, and every year basically we say we do not give a specific number, because it really depends on the context where this solution is supplied, and if compared to what exists already, if compared to these existing solutions, it's large scale or not. So basically in the proposal, you should make a point, you should explain why you believe that this figure is compared to existing solutions a large scale. So we do not say it needs to be at least 1,000 or 5,000 or something, because that would not be appropriate. We know that the situation for different solutions is also very much different. And it's the reason why we really clearly leave this to the applicants to decide what the right numbers are.
Okay, and the second question is, do you expect us to also involve the third sector, volunteers, etc., in the carer side?
So if I understood the question correctly, it's about involving voluntary carers.
Yes.
If those are typically the carers that would be supply or that would be working in this field, then it's a good idea to involve them. So we clearly say that the stakeholders should be seen in a broader way. Of course, if it's very difficult and you cannot find in specific countries organizations that represent those stakeholders, or how you like to engage them, but we still ask them that you make an effort in order to try to bring those people in as well, because we think that the success of such integrated care solutions rely very much on if they are applied, and for that you would need them. So the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you. There was one question here, and then the next one here.
Hi, my question is about DTH11. Could you please go back to the slide of the logistics of the... Yeah, the next one maybe. About the funding.
About the funding, okay.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, is it 5 to 8 million or 4 to 6? Because I think on the portal it says 4 to 6.
Okay, it could be that there is a mistake in the slides. So what is written in the portal is definitely correct.
Okay.
And it might be that it's there 4 to 6.
In a way, I would wish it was a little bit higher, because it looks like this topic is looking for a lot of disciplines coming together.
Thank you very much for detecting this. I will actually, after this session, look again, and I will change it in the slides, because it needs to be in line.
Can you please change it on the portal instead?
Yeah.
So my question is, you mentioned before that you expect a lot of different diseases to be addressed in the call, in the topic, a lot of different diseases, because you are looking for replicability in different countries, and at the same time you're also looking for replicability across different diseases. So this is why it looks like it's not only about a lot of disciplines, but also about a lot of use cases, let's say.
Here in the scope, you see in the second point to applicable to a very wide range of patient pathways. So it's true that it doesn't necessarily mean different diseases, but different how these diseases are then addressed. That's the right answer.
All right, so different ways to address probably also the same disease.
Yes, exactly.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So there was one more question over here in the front. Yeah.
Hello. I had actually two questions. The first one is already asked about European Medicine Agency. The second one of the precautions are minimum 5 countries participation is expected. So regulatory agencies are very important in 09 topic. Shall we understand this 5 as minimum 5 regulatory agency participation, or it can be another entity like SME or non-governmental organizations?
So let me just go to the slide where we exactly say this. It says in the third point, for at least 5 member states organizations. So it is not understood in that narrow way, that it needs to be regulators in these 5, but it could make sense. So it's up to the applicants to then decide, as the topic text does not say regulatory organizations, it's more open. And you are free to decide what type of organization would fit in this context.
Another thing, it says member states. Should we understand the exact members or
no.
the other?
Yeah, indeed, that's your question is about associated countries. I understand. Yes. So yeah, in fact, we treat the associated countries exactly in the same way. So it can also be associated countries. We will clarify this in the FAQ that it's member states, and that includes also associated countries.
Thank you.
Okay, one more question before we then move to the presentations.
Hello, my name is Ronnie. I'm from KPMG, and we are looking into various types of collaborations with our healthcare clients, but we cannot really, I just wanted your general advice about how can we connect as industry to those initiatives. I mean, what's the best means of networking towards April 2019 to really become, to really join those calls for industry?
So how can industry join these topics? So I think it's really important that you look who, for example, is today giving presentations, and that you start on an individual basis to talk to other potential applicants. So there are, of course, different events where networking is offered. It's about describing what you can offer and understanding who needs your services, basically. And for that, the best is that you talk to individual people who give presentations today here, for example. Okay, so I think we addressed the most urgent questions. Thank you very much for this interesting discussion, also about finding this mistake in the slides. Very good. I would like to move now to the presentations. We have 8 presentations. And we could already start the first set of slides. I would like to ask Louise Bautzer, also from France. I hope I spelled your name correctly, to come forward. And please use maximum 4 minutes because we need to finish in time.
Okay, good morning. My name is Louise Bautzer. I'm founder and CEO of a startup working on the integrated care domain. So how does it work? Yeah. So we are addressing the large-scale pilots call. The problem that we are addressing is this idea of the fact that elderly people are going to go through different steps in their treatment. They usually get their treatment in the home care environment. If, in case of an acute episode, they will go to the emergency room and then the more specialized care in one hospital, and then come back to a community care environment. And the whole system today is really organized in different silos, and no one is managing the transitions. And our approach is based in 2 main topics. First one, we collect and aggregate data through one app that we are developing. And we are also using other sorts of information coming from different providers. So we are in a position of a B2B relationship with the healthcare providers. What we do then is we map the dependencies with a graph methodology that is being used, for instance, in the financial sector on the fraud detection domain. And by identifying these dependencies, we can bring three things. The first is more time, basically clinical time for the providers. They say that they don't, their job is not to coordinate, their job is to treat patients. So first, we identify the areas where they can delegate the coordination to other actors. Second, we introduce this notion of predictability of the crisis, the idea that it's important, and you mentioned the fact that avoiding the problem before it arrives. And third is an area that is being addressed by Obamacare in the US through the ACOs, is this idea of protocolized approaches to the remuneration process. Basically, what we do, we try to use the knowledge and the framework that we developed in the industrial world to the healthcare domain. We are working with sociologists in the CERMES 3, it's a big lab in the CNRS in France, and we also we are doing a proof of concept in a hospital in the south of Paris. What we are looking for is two types of inputs. First, hospitals, primary care teams, and community care operators, so the people that are facing the challenges. And the other side is more the teams on the research aspects, the people that are working on NoSQL graph modeling methodologies that would be willing to work with us. And so these are my references. If you are interested, please contact us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Sam Minelli from Italy. And I would like to ask the speakers to stay in the room after the sessions a couple of more minutes so that others could speak to you. Is Sam Minelli here? No? Then we go to the next presentation. That is Vasileios Spiropoulos from Greece. I think he's not here. Then we go to even the next, Jean-Paul Calbimont. I think we heard some presentation yesterday, but probably it's also relevant for the topics today. Presentation number 5.
Okay.
Maybe you'd like already to start.
Yeah, otherwise, okay, so hello everybody. So my name is Michael Shoemaker. I am replacing Jean-Paul Calvi-Montin from my team. So I have the same name as the Formula 1 driver. Okay, so we are from Switzerland, from in the middle of the Alps, and we are working in a second biggest university of applied sciences in Switzerland. We have a health unit with several topics, as you see. So we work on multimodal data analysis and machine learning, always applied to healthcare, image analysis, signals and sensors, intelligent agents, knowledge management, user experience. We are involved and have experience in quite a lot of European projects, Horizon 2020, AAL, and also Eurostar. So next slide, should I? Okay, so we are offering two services. One is for data acquisition with RedCap, the RedCap solution. This is very useful for the data management plans. We have also an applied ethics service for healthcare. And we also launched together as a joint venture with the Paraplegic Foundation, Living Lab of the Handicap. So from the technical perspective, we are working a lot on deep learning with my colleague Henning Müller, who is here, especially in histopathology. And so this concerns all the aspects of deep learning, including interpretability. So Henning Müller is also organizing scientific challenges for image clay. So we promote with those tools open science and research infrastructures for healthcare data. So we are working on image analysis a lot, especially in cancer and lung diseases. We are working on multimodal data analysis, especially combining different signals, especially as in the context of prosthetics. And we apply intelligent agents for personalized healthcare. We did that especially in the area of chronic disease management for diabetes type 1 and type 2, also for gestational diabetes. And we are very interested in physical rehabilitation because we have some professors in physiotherapy in the same school. And we are applying also chatbot. We have a framework for chatbots for smoking cessation, and we want to deploy that also for other prevention of diseases. Finally, we have also concrete prototypes for blockchain, for the application of blockchain for oncology, together with Stony Brook University, and we work on semantic streams and multi-agent real-time multi-agent systems. So all our projects are together with companies or end users, hospitals, and so on, because we do only applied research. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Luis Miguel Pino, also known from yesterday already, but relevant today as well.
So sorry for those of you that will listen to this twice, okay? Like yesterday. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm here to present the area of engineering and health, so health technologies of the Polytechnic of Porto. So Polytechnic of Porto is one of the largest higher education institutions in Portugal. So it's the largest polytechnic, but it's the fourth in terms of dimension national-wide. It is currently, we have a huge campus in Porto, in the area that's currently known as Porto Innovation District, where we have our engineering and health schools. So both of these schools have joined forces in the campus, let's call it like this. And together, they are bringing 10 research centers working in the connection of health and technology. I'm here presenting some examples of the work that's being done. So basically, and the first area of work is physical rehabilitation, so the promotion of well-being and the motion of the human body. Psychosociological rehabilitation also, neurocognitive rehabilitation, the use of virtual reality, games for mental illness and for mental deterioration assessment. Also works in the impact of the environment in the health of people. In terms of also biomaterials, biomarkers, there's also research centers, 2 of them working in this area. In the ICT domain and connected to health technologies, we have work in intelligent systems, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and then embedded computing, so real-time systems, Internet of Things. The current activities that we are developing at this moment, this is the old version of the slides, sorry. I noticed that yesterday when doing the presentation of yesterday, but it's not possible to change anymore. So basically there's a current large set of activities going on. I would like for this topic in particular, we have a lot of work on the issues of technologies for the aging and the assessment on the physical and mental state and preventive approaches to the physical and mental state of the aging population. Also the detection of not only detection of falling, but detection of patterns that may induce potential problems of falling in the future. So basically these are 2 areas which are connected to the cause of today. So please feel free to contact me. I'll be around. Also email, website, LinkedIn, whatever. Okay, thank you.
The next presenter is Gergely Magyar from Slovakia.
Okay, so my name is Gergely Magyar and I'm from the Technical University of Košice, from the Department of Cybernetics and Artificial Intelligence. And here I will present our project, which we are investigating now on a national level, which is called Cloud-Connected Assistive Robots for the Elderly with Cognitive Impairment. So basically our research interests are summarized on this slide. First of all, it's application of artificial intelligence in a social human-robot interaction or any kind of domain in elderly care, cloud computing and its applications, digitalization of elderly care, effective computing. Another big topic for us is adaptive rehabilitation, where we are developing our own devices for rehabilitation. We are also interested in wearable sensors, Internet of Things, and Industry 4.0. And here on the picture you can see the setting or the experiments we were conducting in an elderly care facility. So the basic goals of this project is to create a personalized cognitive stimulation therapy for elderly who are living in elderly care homes, creating semi or autonomous robots by learning from the teleoperator, from the people who are controlling the robot, monitoring the interaction and processing the data in the cloud, data mining and visualization of data in the cloud, emotion assessment and an information system also for the families and for the caregiver staff to monitor all the patients. And there's also a video on YouTube which you can check since the presentation is available on the site, so you can see the basic idea of the project and our results until now. So what we are looking for, what kind of partners, is project coordination, since we can't lead a project, cloud services development, speech recognition or natural language processing and understanding, emotion recognition, not exclusively from facial emotions, and also some end users. Here you can see my contact details, and you can also catch me after the session. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Next presenter is Enis Kayas from Turkey.
Again from yesterday as well. Do you remember where I was from? Which country? From Turkey, from Istanbul. I think we are, yeah. So this is me. I am a faculty member at Özyeğin University, and in particular, I'm an industrial engineer. And I am working on healthcare operations management, I think, which is relevant for the DTH11 call that we have. And in particular, I am also in health economics at large. We have current projects, both research and consultancy projects, with some of the public and private hospitals in Turkey, as well as the Minister of Health. In particular, we are designing operating room planning modules for the hospitals, as well as chemotherapy schedulings for the clinics. And what I am interested in DTH11, as I have told, and in particular, I think I do agree with the call in two aspects. First of all, it has to be personalized, it has to be specific for every single patient, as well as it has to be very efficient in terms of resource usage. So one possible way is to create all the possible care pathways for every single patient and then evaluate them, which you can imagine is computationally prohibitively expensive. So what we can offer as an industrial engineer background is to create mathematical models that can find a very good personalized care pathways for every single individual, while considering the resource usages of all the patients, as well as the workforce, I think, considerations, the caregivers, not just the hospital people, but also the formal and informal care givers of for the patients. With that, we can also support this call with predictive analytics tools that not just reactively solves their patient's problem, but also creates proactive solutions before the solution happens. How can we address these challenges for the patients? So these are my potential contributions that I am thinking of. If you are interested, we can talk about them. I am coming from Özyeğin University, which is a third-generation foundation university with a good record in EU-funded research. This is my contact information. If you are interested, I will be around as well, or you can send me an email. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last presentation for today.
Okay, so good morning will be in the last presentation before lunch. So I'm going to introduce you two projects. First of all, IDRE. IDRE is a company that has the mission to merge together two kinds of approach. So to provide services to access public rent, and also to provide really advanced consulting services. So we apply state-of-the-art facilitation techniques such as business model design, legacy display, and whatever. From this kind of services, we supported two companies. That the first one is Trilio. Trilio is a product, actually it's not a project, it's already a product that is brought to the market by an Italian small and medium enterprise. So Trilio aims at connecting the so-called last mile between solution providing services and healthcare for elderly and the elderly itself, the elderly people itself. It's a pillar reminder, so it has been designed to be really familiar for elderly, so it has the shape of an alarm clock, and the caregiver, maybe also a parent, the son can upload the therapy and the list of the pills and the number of the pills that have to be taken by the elderly every day. And at a given time, there is an alarm. You can also use the voice for the nephew, so hey grandpa, remind to take the pill. And all this information are collected in a platform that you see in the bottom part, so you can merge all this information. So imagine to have, let's say, 10,000 Trelio all over Europe, so you can retrieve information on which is the better therapy to address therapeutic adherence all over Europe for different kind of illness. And the project has been already granted by the European Commission through SME Phase 1 grant. So we already submitted a feasibility study. And over the 6-month period, we carry out two small pilot projects, one with a Red Cross in Spain, the other one with the municipality of Prague. So we already had some feedback from the market. So we are looking for consortia for the large-scale pilot, because this is a solution that has been designed for elderly, and also users for the SME Phase 1 project that we are going to submit in January. The second solution, actually, the sector is a little bit different, but it can be customized on this kind of topic, is a Welley Village. Welley Village is an ecosystem. You can connect to the platform several devices, wearable devices, and you can track all this information. And the most innovative part of the project is that you don't have to change the platform. For example, if you use Fitbit, you are able to see your data information only if they are stored in Fitbit. So the API have been already developed for the solution. And you can provide this kind of information to, we use the word consultancy, but you can put the word practitioner or doctor, to see which is the real status of the illness or the health of this patient. And the system is also provided with a blockchain solution. So this has been designed, as I told you, for wellness. So every time that a person achieves specific goals, he has some coins that he can spend in the platform. For sure, you can create some vertical solution also for the health sector. So you can put, for example, devices for blood pressure on the left, and you can collect all this information. You can also create and merge this information and use it in over the practitioner's platform. So these are all my contact details. So I will be stepping here around immediately after the presentation, if you are not willing to go immediately to the lunch. Thank you. Thank you, Monica.
So thank you very much. I hope that you can make very good use of these networking opportunities that you have here. It's very intense days, but we have so many different competences, expertises in the room, and also in the rest of the conference. Please make use of that. That's really the purpose of this event. Today we had topics which were not about research, but innovation. So that means scale up and deployment. And please keep this difference in mind. While it's important to bring together industry, SMEs, it's also very important to have the end users involved in those topics. With that, I would like to thank you very much, and I wish you a very fruitful conference.
Just drop me an email also for grants. What would be the position of EMA? I mean, so if they have no, let's say, manpower or automation, okay, so it will be difficult. We need to get some information. What they are, let's say. Yes, okay. Yes,